Chairman, you are one of the few people that have gotten the name of my constituency very right. On paper, it is Hemai Lower Denchra, and it's creating a lot of tension and problems for the traditional area. So about 2 weeks ago, the paramount chief of Chufu Hemai petitioned that his Chufu should be included in the name. So that one will be pursued later on. Mr. Chairman, you are right. A second term MP coming into the same portfolio which I served earlier, Deputy Minister, Employment and Labor Relations. When my constituents heard the first time that I was going into the Employment Ministry, they were very excited because they knew that all matters relating to their employment were going to be solved. Chairman, it is an erroneous impression. I can only explain that here to you because the ministry actually coordinates the value chain of employment, including ensuring that employment also comes. And so
that's not true. You know you have all the jobs. You are just refusing to give it to them.
Please, that was said in jest. So that it is not reported, you'll be screwed if it was.
During the elections, and this is off record, the General Secretary of NDC came to my constituency and said that your people, this guy, is supposed to employ all of you. and when he left there, it took me about 2 weeks to recover from that statement. But on a more serious note, because we coordinate the value chain of employment, even those who are employed, there are challenges with SNET, the pension issues and all that. The moment they come to my attention, just like any other Ghanaian brings them, I quickly jump in and resolve them. And the employment opportunities which also come our way, I would use the opportunity to ensure that most of the youth, particularly in apprenticeship, which the Education Ministry is pursuing and under the TVET program. So I will spearhead that a lot and encourage my youth to get in there. Thank you, Chairman.
May I don't know whether to call it as a suggestion or what I found is we appear as a country to look down upon TVET, hands-on. I don't know the historical antecedents. But I have, for example, I encourage young people who come to me, I want this job. I look at your certificate and I explain that with this certificate, the best you can get is to get a laborer's job. Why don't you learn a trade? After I've told about 10, 15 people, I hear a complaint that as a lawyer, when you go to him, he says, go and learn a trade. I thought I was guiding them to the most appropriate, is it possible for your ministry to look at some reorientation program for people to understand that your best bet is to be able to control your business, to be able to be responsible for what your earnings are, and that is by learning a trade of some sort?
Thank you, Chairman. I think you are hitting the nail right on the head, and that has been the main intervention my minister spearheads. In fact, these skilled training institutions have been under us for some time, but for these, the last bills that were introduced by Education Ministry is taking them away to the TVET sector. He has always championed that we look at that sector, considering the fact that over 88% of our workforce finds ourselves in the informal sector. So what best of legacy would you bequeath to somebody if you gave the person a trade, of a sort? But just like the experience you had, the moment you even advise somebody to look at, elsewhere and learn a trade, the next you see groups meeting, then they are discussing you. That during elections, you didn't tell them to go and learn trade. Now they have finished, you have won, and you are advising them to go and learn trade. So it's a very difficult thing we find out. Both sides, I know my friends on the other side are going through the same thing. And so I'll discuss with my minister and then encourage him that we pursue that very rigorously.
Yes, Honorable Jerry. Remember, change the microphone. Use another one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. To borrow the chairman's words, yemfa amaniamehunu into tuka. To wait, you cannot use complaints to pay your debt. So the fact that the Ministry of Employment is not directly responsible for creating jobs does not also stop them from creating the enabling environment for the youth of this country to find jobs. And so I think that one of the most prudent things the ministry should be looking at is to be creating the enabling environment for our youth to find jobs, because it is tried that the unemployment rate in Ghana is 4.51, and this is above the world average. And so what steps will the ministry, assisting your minister, take to create the enabling environment for our teeming youth to find jobs? A sense to the labor force.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I think your question was even more of a suggestion than, and I'm grateful to you for pushing that agenda. In the ministry, we have tried as much as possible with our skill training institutions, like as I said earlier, to pursue these vocational traits. You know, we have been, MVTI, for instance, has not moved yet to the education ministry. They are in transition. And we have been working with them. Every year, we sit with them, we revise their curriculum, we see how they are making sure that we give certificates to people and give them accreditation. One thing we suffer in Ghana most is who even qualifies as a mechanic, or as you may get stuck in a traffic somewhere, on the road somewhere. Getting somebody to fix your car immediately becomes a problem. Somebody comes and he tells you, oh, I am good. If you don't take care, your car will end up, you know, so these are matters of concern to the ministry. And you know that employment is also not a baby of one ministry. In fact, if you look into the various manifestos of both political parties in parliament, you realize that from page 1 to the end talks about employment. All what government is doing is to create an enabling environment for us to be able to employ, but particularly in our ministry, because we are mandated. It is on us to try and do this. And through the Youth Employment Agency, we have been partnering with institutions like NAPE and are coming up with things that are improving the employment opportunities. Thank you, Chairman.
Before I go to my next question, did you say the minimum wage is 12.53?
2021.
Like, seriously. And we have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. It's like giving an opportunity and taking it. I don't know how somebody who is earning 12.53 will do tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Anyways, I hope that will be looked at subsequently. But let me move to my question of labor front. The Honorable Patrick Boama indicated that you've done well with the labor front, but just recently, the lab workers in the hospital were on strike, and your ministry could not stop them. It took the intervention of the health committee to let them call off the strike. Secondly, there are a lot of threats in the news of other organizations like the health workers who are threatening to go on strike. What is your ministry doing to stop them from embarking on the strike? Because most of the time we wait for them to go on strike, the havoc is caused before we listen to them and solve their problems for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. My first reaction to your question is that strikes are inevitable. I mean, once we are in such environment, employee-employer relationships, you may once a while experience strikes. And for us in the ministry, we don't see them as something too bad, because anytime there is anything like that, we try to even delve deeper and understand the issues and ensure that, you know, we resolve it once and for all. The issue of the laboratory strikes, you know, most of the issues that come do not come, as it were, on a macro level for us to even go in. They are matters that come that are related to institutions within particular ministries. And that matter per se, in fact, after about 2, 3, 4 days, when we heard that the strikes were going on, my minister called me, whether or not I had heard, and then whatever he could do for me to assist him on the trenches. And therefore, we decided to even take action. My minister got in touch with NLC, the National Labour Commission, to see how they could bring them to order. Whilst letters had gone, of course, this was a matter bordering on life and death. So Parliament was also so concerned and also invited them to resolve it. So it is not that they had reneged on their duty to call off the strike, but because it was a matter of life and death, everybody was concerned. And therefore, Parliament, as one of the biggest institutions in Ghana, for me, I think that it was timely that Parliament went in to resolve that. The other matter of strike within the health sector, of course, you resolve issues today, tomorrow there are others that are coming and so on. So it boils down to the inevitability of strike that I'm talking about. But it's all about discussions and talking to them and assuring them. And with the cooperation of the leadership of unions, we have all the time ensured that these things come to amicable ends. Thank you, Chair.
It is because you added it to your credentials of stopping strikes. That's why I asked you anyway. What do you want to be remembered for when you leave the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, assisting your minister?
Thank you, Chair. One thing people tell my minister in the ministry is his humility and time consciousness. Before I started working with him, personally, I was not too time conscious. And one thing I have learned from him is to be very time conscious. And therefore, I know when I'm not in the ministry or when he is not there, I mean, they will say, ask for these 2 people in the ministry. If they give you 10 and you don't come, so the time alone. And the second thing is the humility which we serve with all manner of labor persons who come to us. This, I think, will be what people will remember me for.
That will be all for you, Mr. Chairman.
Very well. Okay, Agaga first.
Honorable Rekurobe, congratulations. Mine has to do with the Cap 30 pension scheme, otherwise known as Ordinance number 42, which amongst others places the security agencies out of the SNIT pension scheme for now. Now, not too long ago, Honorable Rekubrobe, you appeared before the Public Accounts Committee, and whilst before the committee, you are reported as having given strong indication that Cabinet had given approval for the security agencies, first of all, for the unification of all pension schemes in our country, and that all agencies of state which were still enjoying the capitated pension scheme were going to be migrated. Is that true, Honorable Rekubrobe? Did you make such a statement before Parliament's Public Accounts Committee?
Chairman, that is false. I did not make that statement that you are alluding to before the Public Accounts Committee.
So you never gave indication anywhere that there was going to be unification of government pension schemes, which would then affect the security agencies, notably the police, BNI, fire service, etc., which by law, the National Pensions Act 2008 are excluded from the act. Only the armed forces are mentioned in that act. You never said anything to the effect that there was going to be unification of pension schemes.
Thank you, Chairman. You have just alluded to the fact that the law itself even says that. The law, section 214, actually 213, actually says that. So it is not attributable to me per se saying it. It is the law that says that. But, Mr. Chairman, we have far moved from, you know, what the law says, if you seek to implement, you don't do it on your own. You seek parliamentary approval to be able to do it. In the wisdom of Cabinet, this matter has been rested. Cabinet released a statement saying that the Minister of Employment and Labor Relations must take steps to exclude all the security forces from that unification process. So that is the position now, Mr. Chairman.
No, Honorable Rekubrobe, you know, you are speaking on oath. Rekubrobe, you know, you are speaking on oath. And so respectfully, I asked you about a statement that was attributed to you when you appeared before the Public Accounts Committee. You were reported widely in the media. In the security agencies, amongst the security agencies. And I wrote on it extensively. Subsequent to your statement, the Interior Minister put out a denial. The Minister for Information issued a statement and actually stated that the publication that was attributed to you
Mr. Chairman, I think you asked a specific question that at Public Accounts Committee, I made such statement. I said I did not make such statement at the Public Accounts Committee. It was after the Public Accounts Committee, a media interview, which we sought to explain the processes which we are going through to ensure that the unification was done. You know, so it was not at the Public Accounts Committee that that statement was made. Thank you, Chairman.
Anyway, Honorable Rekubrobe, The president, in one of his State of the Nation addresses, actually stated that steps would be taken to, as it were, amend Section 31 of the National Pensions Act to expressly include the security agencies other than the armed forces, which alone is a security institution mentioned under Section 31 as being exempt from a migration onto the SNIT pension scheme. When would the amendment come before this House to calm down the nerves of the personnel of the police service, fire service, BNI, immigration, etc.?
Mr. Chairman, I am craving on your indulgence to approve of my nomination. And once I get to the ministry, I'll work closely with my minister and then ensure that this amendment comes. You know, it's procedural, so I'll work with him and then it gets to you.
Very well. Yes, one more part.
Thank you very much. Honorable Rekubebe, congratulations for maintaining your position as the Deputy Minister of Employment. Honorable Chair, what is your view on child labor? And may I know if there's ever going to be a way of eliminating this practice from our society? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Indeed, the issue of child labor has been very topical lately. And the 12th of June is World Day Against Child Labor. That's about 4 days away. And so the whole world is looking up to that day. So I am not surprised honorable member wants to know what child labor is. Honorable member, Article 92, I think of our Constitution talks about child labor, and it talks about anything that we would do to the child that would jeopardize the health, the education, and the well-being of the child is child labor. So no, it's let me
Chairman, Article 92 does not talk about child labor. We beg the nominee. We beg him.
Yes. So the Constitution tells us that as much as possible, the welfare of the child, the health, the education of the child is paramount. So any activity.
Why don't you talk about the Children's Act rather than the Constitution?
Thank you, Chair. But those are the Children's Act even borrowed from the Constitution. So it's just anything that we do to jeopardize the health, education, and welfare of children are termed as child labor. And for us in the ministry, this is one of the key things which we have been working on, to the extent that we have the Labor Department has a whole unit dedicated to child labor, which we are working on. Mr. Chairman, we are doing this in collaboration with other sister ministries. The Ministry of Gender and Social Protection, the Ministry of Interior, all come in to assist on this. So this is an area which is of concern to the ministry. Thank you.
Very well. Yes, Zuzu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Congratulations again, Honorable Nominee. So my question has to do with community-based job centers Recently, when I became a member of parliament, one of the biggest challenge among the youth was unemployment. And one of the ways I sought to do that was to establish a kind of job center, which was an online job connecting point. And then we also had models that had training and entrepreneurship. Now, I'm bringing this to bear because within 5 months of this project, we have 4,800 young people applying through the portal. We had about 1,499 that have been impacted so far. And this includes those who are connected to jobs and those who are in apprenticeship. Now, I see that model as something that can be implemented across all municipalities in the country. What would your ministry do in partnership with such private initiatives to resolve the problem of job creation or the problem of unemployment in our communities?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This thing is one of the YEA Job Center is one of the new interventions the Youth Employment Agency pursued. And as we speak, we have this center set up in the headquarters in Accra, where we are linking job seekers and those who are seeking for employment also in sync. And so it is something that is ongoing. So you may also want to visit the YEA headquarters and for us to share your experiences, and we see how we can reconcile the two. We hope to replicate this all over in the districts. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. And the follow-up quick one, in 2018, it was reported that your government had created 1 million jobs since 2017. I know as a deputy minister going into that sector, you might have had some briefing. Can you tell us, or tell this committee or the people of Ghana now the total number of jobs created by your government?
Mr. Chairman, as at the last count, when I was being briefed in the ministry, it stood around 3.8 million from 2017 to date, including those in the informal sector and those in the agri sector, planting for food and jobs and all that. Thank you, Chairman.
Wow, that is very impressive. And considering the fact that we have a lot of jobless people around, I'm sure it will be good if you can provide the committee with particulars or details of those jobs. I'm sure it will be very, very helpful.
Those information has been brought before the House on so many occasions. So if we approve him, he will bring it to the House. I think I can come to the leadership now. Yes, go on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations, Honorable Nominee. Maybe to start on a lighter note first, the dawn of 7th January 2021 will go down in history as one day that will never be forgotten in the political annals of this country. A lot of things happened, many fallouts, some good, some bad. At the end of the day, history was made. A speaker who doesn't belong to the ruling government was elected after a fierce contest between him and one that was promoted and supported by the ruling government. Some of the fallouts included a video that went viral, suggesting that you did not cast your ballot on the day, and perhaps that contributed to the government-sponsored candidate losing. Was that the case?
Mr. Chairman, well, you started by saying it was on a lighter note. So let's treat it on a lighter note and proceed. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, but it's on a lighter note. Did you do it or did you not? Did you vote or did you not vote?
Mr. Chairman, we have a speaker, so let's proceed. Thank you.
Okay, I'll proceed. The workforce of Ghana has suffered a number of shocks in the last couple of years. First, we had the banking crisis that led to a lot of joblessness, not only from the banks, but also allied financial institutions that worked with these banks. Then COVID hit, and a number of businesses had to close down, a number of people had to lose their jobs. In the course of all of this, the finance minister gave assurance in the mid-year budget review of 2020 that the government was considering the introduction of an unemployment insurance scheme to cater for those who lost their jobs, especially as a result of COVID. You followed up at a round-table discussion that was organized by Joy Business and indicated that you were compiling the list of those who had lost their jobs to make this scheme viable. Can you tell this committee the number of people who lost their jobs as compiled? And why don't we as yet have the unemployment insurance scheme operating?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Chairman, I think this issue of unemployment insurance scheme is work in progress. There were two main things that fell out from the media review. The unemployment insurance benefit was one, to begin with training and retraining of employees who had lost their jobs as a result of COVID. Mr. Chairman, I must say that that aspect, together at a social partnership council, the modus that is going to be used to operate on that is in progress. So as we speak, a lot of work has gone on with the Social Partnership Council. The Ministry of Finance released some monies in respect of this, and work is ongoing on. So that's what I can say regarding the unemployment benefit.
My question was actually two-pronged. How many have lost their jobs? Because you indicated you were having a compilation of that data that will feed into the establishment of this unemployment insurance scheme. So how many lost jobs as a result of COVID?
Mr. Chairman, the ministry commissioned a consultant to do a study on the effect that COVID had on employment. In that study, about 878 institutions were dealt with. And out of that, about 42 or so thousand workforce had lost their jobs. So that's what we can put. The World Bank even also put the...
So what is being done as a result of this scheme to that 42,000 or so people? Because that is what they were supposed to be the beneficiaries.
So the work we are doing in the ministry includes identifying all the strategic interventions around this unemployment insurance scheme So that work is ongoing. I must say that not all the 42,000 or so who have lost their jobs may be the beneficiaries of this. Once the operations of the scheme is out, it will find ways of ensuring that people are enrolled onto the scheme.
All right, I'll move to my next question. How did you come by fertilizer that was distributed to NPP delegates to aid your victory during the NPP primaries? Fertilizer that was later found to have been stolen from Cocoa Board.
Honorable, I think this involves an allegation, so let's establish the facts. First, let's be clear what to amount. Are you aware that there were some fertilizers stolen from Cocoa Board? Are you aware of any such fertilizer stolen from Cocoa Board?
Mr. Chairman, the honorable member is making an allegation. And this matter was dealt with finally at the law court. And the court determined, and the court pronounced judgment on that. So I am surprised honorable member is saying that they were stolen from Cocoa Board. No.
So the next question is, did you distribute fertilizers to aid your primaries, your election at the primaries?
Not at all, Chairman. Not at all, Chairman. Not at all, Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, will the nominee, having regard of the fact that he's speaking under oath, admit to this committee that he was charged alongside 17 others over the theft of fertilizer from Cocoa Board?
Were you charged?
Mr. Chairman, that's what I said, that the court discharged all the 17 people that were charged. In fact, acquitted and discharged them for want of prosecution. I mean, it didn't even exist. And this is on record.
Yes, you may ask the last question.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, the honorable nominee faces a challenge that I know sometimes we all do, especially when you represent a constituency with people from diverse backgrounds and diverse history. But it is of concern when a perception is held by one group of people that the leader doesn't like to promote them. Mr. Chairman, I have come across complaints from not only the honorable nominee's former DCE, in the person of Emmanuel Nana, but also from the Queen Mother of Denchra, Nanama Ayensua Sarah III, suggesting same. Now, why do you think that perception, whether a reality or not, is held by the people of Denchra, that you do not promote their cause?
Thank you, Chairman. I sit on a constituency that has two traditional areas, the Chufuhimai area and the Denchra area. Mr. Chairman, I can furnish you with all the projects that I have undertaken since I became MP from 2017. And it will interest you to know that over 65–70% are in the area where Suhini is talking about. Honorable Suhini, I would want to invite you one weekend for us to go to the constituency.
Don't personalize it. Ask your question for the committee. So,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
So, just to assure you that that is a perception and not the reality. Thank you, Chair.
No, this is your last one. Yes, leadership. Please wait. He took the leadership position. He didn't use it at all. Yes, let me give him. Yes, please.
Now, I was told that I should not attempt to exercise the privileges. Thank you very much, Chairman, for the opportunity. And congratulations, Mr. Nominee. I think that generally the youth of this country have lost confidence in our system to be able to fairly distribute employment opportunities. As a result, every single one of us sitting here gets all sort of pressure from young people wanting us to be responsible for finding them jobs. Every MP gets called. Every young person who doesn't get a job thinks that the MP can get him a job. People meet you in the streets, and the first thing they think you can do as Member of Parliament is to be able to get them a job, because the system of recruitment doesn't seem to be structured to fairly give everybody an opportunity. As a minister, as a deputy minister at the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, what do you think we can do to take away political interference in recruitment processes so that young people can be confident that when there is opportunity anywhere, they can go on merit, they can get such opportunities?
Mr. Chairman, I fully share in what you are trying to allude, that everybody everywhere, every youth everywhere, must be given opportunity if some exist in any job environment. So for us in the ministry, we are so happy with this digitalization.
Not better to indicate it appropriately since you became deputy. Because when you say from October 1st to date, yes, you'll have taken the Office of Profits certificate from Speaker that have authorized you can work. But since you've not been able to work there, don't you think it is better to limit it to indicate that you are no longer in that chambers? Or you still believe that when an opportunity comes, you go there and work?
Mr. Chairman, I am guided. Thank you.
Yeah, the reason why I'm saying this is that you notice that of late there's a lot of complaint about MPs, politicians, and what have you, taking public time to go to school and do other things. Yes, it's permissible, like you know, if you take the Office of Profit and you are given certificate, and you can prove to the committee that the work there would not interfere in any way with your functions, you are allowed to do that. So where you are not really doing it, I thought it would be better to indicate that. Anyway, Mr. Chairman, in answering to a question earlier, about how we can create a level playing field for ordinary Ghanaian citizens to be able to apply for a job and be confident that it is going to be meritorious. When you merit it, you get it. He talked about digitalization of the system. You think by just digitalizing, it will take the human interference out?
Mr. Chairman, I said to a large extent, yes.
Because it's garbage in, garbage out. I mean, you see, for example, the current security services. Yes, the digitalization will just tell the person qualify or disqualify. But all the qualify, I'm sure all MPs sitting around here are currently having one or two that are pestering you that the computerized system says I've qualified. So this one, I've done my part. Try and do your best to get me the job. So it still leaves you with the human interference. Don't you believe that we need to do more than just the digitalization to be able to ensure equity, as you yourself said earlier?
Yeah, Chairman, I believe so. And like I said, it's one of the first steps. The other will be a collective responsibility by all of us. So as a ministry, when I'm giving the nod, God willing, I will discuss that with my minister, and we champion how to come up with a transparent process, some of a policy guideline maybe, to ensure that fair and equity are given each employee.
Yeah, maybe the last one. Will you want to consider what's happening, say, in the US, where they have Equal Opportunity Commission? You know, for example, in the UN system, if I'm working there and you see any of my relation getting employment there, UN will get that person out. Not because it's not qualified, because I'm there. They have to share the opportunity. In the US, if you can prove that this person got this job because his uncle, his church member, his mosque member is the one that influenced him to come in, that person will be taken out. And they have a special commission like we have the Human Rights Commission, where you go and lodge a complaint that Muntaka is in Parliament and is on the Health Committee, and I can see that this secretary that is in the Health Committee came through him because that person is relation, and the person will be withdrawn. Will you want to do this so that at least all of us can have a peace of mind knowing that people will apply?
Suffered the tracker layoffs was the World Bank report.
Your report as you commission a consultant was distinct and separate from that of the UNDP World Bank. Is that right?
That is right, Chairman. And in that report, 11,657 job losses were indicated.
Apart from stimulus package that was disbursed by the National Board for Small-Scale Industry at the time, now converted by legislation, did your ministry reach out to any unemployed Ghanaian to support that person, either you or the Ministry of Finance in collaboration? Honorable Nominee.
Mr. Chairman, as a ministry, through our Labor Department, we not only supported financially, we didn't support financially, but we did lots of visits to them to know their first-hand issues and give the necessary advice.
Chairman, thank you. Now, you've worked at the ministry, so we'll hold you to account for some of your conduct at the ministry. Factories and inspectorate directorates. Look at the major factories across the country. Their legislation does not allow them to charge reasonably amount that can cover their costs. Yet you know the health, safety of workers is important, and we need as a country to pass a legislation on those matters. You need to go around the country, for instance, to know whether the meat factory or the cashew nut processing factory or the granule processing factory meets minimum health safety standards. Give us an assurance what you do to assist your minister to improve the work of the Factories Inspectorate Directorate of the ministry. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. My minister is in the process of even initiating a bill around the occupational safety and health to strengthen the Department of Factories Inspectorate. So I give you the fullest assurance that once you approve my nomination, I'll work with my minister in pursuit of your suggestion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, one of our major problems as a country is access to labor information. That is why probably, if you recall, in 2016, I got the EU, which came to support the establishment of the labor market information system. In an answer to a question to the Honorable Ejari, I believe, you mentioned the matter of labor departments, the links. Now, the unemployed in Ghana just don't know where to go in search of jobs and to have assurances of jobs. days of past, 2018, 18 years back or 20 years, every morning, Ghanaians comfortably walk to the labor departments to read their notice board in order to find out what vacancy existed. Now we need to go high tech. One, in digitalizing these labor departments. Two, connecting them to a dedicated labor market information system. What will you do to assist your minister to give realization to this dream? Thank you.
Chairman, thank you. The Ghana Labor Market Information System is one of the things that you left behind at the ministry, which we have pursued till date. Mr. Chairman, you know that it is capital intensive. And even at that time, the EU was the one supporting us. As part of the Skills and Jobs project, which budget was approved in the last budget, some portions are earmarked for us to progress on the JLMI. So once given the nod, Mr. Chairman, I think it's one area where we will seek to work so hard to ensure that at least this manual form of data and so on are taken away and giving way to technology. Thank you, Chairman.
Chairman, thank you very much. And Chairman, my other question has to do with what the Honorable Agalga raised. And in your response, you've been deputy minister and you are going back to the same ministry. We've heard the president, we've heard your minister, we've heard you too. Act 766 was passed as Pensions Act. If you read its transitional provisions, all other laws were considered repealed to come under the ambit of a new Pensions Act of Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 pension. Now, we failed as a country to do pension unification, and probably your ministry must be giving good policy advice to President Nana Addo Dankwa on it. Because when you take immigration, they are at a different level. You take the Ghana Armed Forces at a different level of pensions. You take the police service at a different level of pensions. That is why the idea of unification was mooted, and I still recall even submitting a cabinet memo to President Mahama at the time on it. Now, President Nana Addo Dankwa has announced, supported by the ministers, that look, all security agencies should be under Cap 30. You know that the police service regulations is a Cap 30, no. So we expect you and your minister to come to Parliament, and you must give us timelines. Amendment, as the Honorable Agalga referred to, at Section 31 of Act 766 will have to be reviewed. Give us an assurance of timelines, how you and your minister will give meaning to this. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the difficulty I have is my status, if you approve of me as a deputy minister, to give timelines. I have given my fullest assurance that I will support my minister in the pursuit of this. So, Mr. Chairman, please bear with me. And once I'm given the nod, I'll work with my minister so that I don't veer into timelines which I don't control. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Chairman, once we are scrutinizing an employment minister, we know that you remain the policy advisor to the president on it and some of your colleagues. And Chairman, this is my view. For instance, we know you are not directly involved. Immigration Service does recruitment. Ghana Police Service does recruitment. The Ghana Armed Forces does recruitment. Many of them these days don't do it through the known advertised public advertisement. Known, the channels. It will be in Times, it will be in the Ghanaian newspapers of Daily Graphic. Now, but my suggestion is that Ghana is divided into 275 constituencies. Now, to ensure fairness and to ensure fair representation of all the diverse groups in Ghana. Why not place the adverts in their constituencies? Then we know that if immigration, police, and the military were to recruit at least 2-3 persons from each of the 275 constituencies would have gotten absorbed into the particular service. What's your thinking on that? Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chairman, fantastic thinking. So once I'm given the note, I'll discuss it with my minister and we push it forward. Thank you, Chairman.
And then, Chairman, again, Labor Department, in a very sorry state, as you know, whether nationally or regionally, and there must be plans to refit the Labor Department. But, Chairman, again, a major problem, I know you are not minister, but we say so that those who are evolving policy will be guided. The Labor Department is responsible for the licenses of those who get these domestic workers abroad. Now they go abroad, and we are told that they were recruited by an illegal employment agency. And we will have some of you admitting before committees. How do we get a stop to it? Because, for instance, the Arab Gulf, whether it's Bahrain, it's Kuwait, it's Jordan, it's Oman, it's Dubai, are interested in recruiting persons to work for them. But they want it regularized in a manner that is decent, that the young girls that are sent there are not abused. What will you do? I'm currently even aware that there is a ban. When will you lift the ban? And assisting your minister to do so. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this area which you have asked is very much an area where most people are also interested. The ministry put in place measures through the Labor Department to stop some of these illegal transfers of labor to particularly the Gulf states. They worked in consultation with the Ministry of Interior. Getting Ghana Immigration Service to support and even block some of the export of some of this labor to the Gulf. Unfortunately, you find people going through Togo and even through Cote d'Ivoire on unapproved routes to carry out this trade. So I'm not surprised you even find people in some of these states, you ask them they are Ghanaians, but they didn't go through the normal routes of our airport. So, Mr. Chairman, once I am approved, this is an area where we have been working on already, and then we would...
The reserve fund, which was set up at the Bank of Ghana. But, Chairman, I'm holding with me here the report of the Auditor General on the public accounts of Ghana, public boards, corporations, and other statutory institutions for the period ending 31st December 2019. And it has this quote: our review of Social Security Fund, SSF, contributions in respect of employee deduction of 5%, together with employers' contribution of 13.5%, amounting to 491,527,717 from 2016 period, have not been remitted to the trust by the Control and Accountant General Department at the time of audit in 2019, 3 years on. And I'm raising this, Chairman, I know he's not minister, because there is currently an ongoing debate. CLOSAC have written very strongly to the Office of the President, copied you, copied Parliament, that they think that the supervisory ministry for pensions should be the Ministry of Employment. I had that benefit from President Mahama asking me to supervise pensions. Now, things have changed. Will you follow up on this to ensure that pension funds are safe and secured?
Thank you, Chair. Very much so.
Chairman, payment of outstanding salaries of workers of the defunct National Mobilization Program. You have any knowledge of it, and what would you do to ensure that they get what they deserve? Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chair, when I'm approved and it comes to my notice, I will delve into it and ensure that the right thing is done.
Is government owing Tier 2 pensions, and how much, to the best of your knowledge? Are there any outstanding obligations that have not been settled?
Mr. Chairman, to the best of my knowledge, all the monies held in the TPFA have been transferred. However, as and when some institutions come perusing through their data and give us information that they are reliably informed per their data that they've not received, we have worked with controller. In the last case was the Senior Staff Association. We worked with controller, and about 41 million has been transferred as part of their pension funds, of their Tier 2 funds. Thank you.
So, Chairman, you say under oath that there is no outstanding obligations in respect of arrears standing against Tier 2 pension. Is that right?
Mr. Chairman, I did not say that.
And Chairman, in an answer to the Honorable Ejari, minimum wage has it been determined for this period?
Chairman, yes, it has.
What is it for the private sector?
It's for 2021, it's 12 cedis 53 pesos, an increase of 6 percentage points over the 2020 minimum wage.
Public sector base pay, has it been determined?
Chairman, in the process.
Why is it taking long after determination of minimum wage for that to be done, particularly so that the compensation budget of government as presented in the budget was not anticipated?
Chairman, we finished the determination of the minimum wage just a couple or so days ago. So,
and Chairman, I end with this. Just again, to be fair to you, you don't have a copy. Report of Auditor General on Public Accounts of Ghana, Public Boards, Corporations, and other statutory institutions for the period ended 31st December 2019. Hear this quote and follow up. Senate entered a joint venture agreement with Manuel Gray for a development of housing project at Klagon, 2010, Tema and Asakori for sale. The arrangement provided a percentage holding of 60% to SNIT and 40% to Manuel Gray. The expected cost for construction and completion of the project was $206 million US, 465,000. Now, the Auditor General is raising concerns about those investments, that they are locked up. You want to assure us that when you go, you and your ministry will pay particular interest to matters of SNIT and their pension. Do you still serve? Do you have a representative on the SNIT board? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. We don't have a representative on the SNIT board. And to your earlier suggestion, yes, once approved, I'll support my minister to follow up on the SNIT issue. Thank you, Chair.
Very well. The leader, ranking member is finished. These are suggestions from a young man from our constituency. So I'm going to ask you do you have any system of identifying and recording the unemployed in our country, at your ministry?
Mr. Chairman, yes, that is what the Honorable Ranking was asking. The JLMIS. It's in the process. It's very capital intensive. We've received support from European Union, and we currently are receiving support through the just approved skills and job project. So once that is done, the GLMIS will be fully set up, and then we can have the data on the unemployed as well.
So now you do not have a system of collecting that data, is that right?
Chairman, that is correct.
I don't know exactly what is the content of the JLMXI, but I'm suggesting that please brief us, the everyday Ghanaian, district by district, for us to understand what it is and how we can help you collect the data. Right.
Chairman, to begin with, our labor law even enjoins the Labor Department to collect data on some of these statistics within every district. But when the GLMIS is on them accurately?
Well, it appears what I'm expecting is different from what you're trying to set up. Because what you're trying to set up would require people applying. So if I don't apply, you know you don't have my data. I was hoping that you have a system where generally, now that we're trying to build a national ID, who can log in and say, this set of people, one, they have no skills. This one have these skills. So it's possible to guide them where to find jobs. So I'm looking at a situation where in my district, it should be possible to look at the data and say, oh, I have 1,500 trained masons. I have 700 trained carpenters. So when there's a job coming into the constituency, I can insist that you have a pool of people here you can employ. I won't permit you to bring carpenters from this or that side. So probably you want to look at an option which is district-based.
Very well, Chairman.
The second thing is probably linked to the same thing. Do you have a system where you link your data to academia so as to assist in the kind of training they give? For example, all the polytechnics, now called technical universities, were set up to train up with our hands, to train people to work with their hands. But it does appear to be now that they are all doing marketing. They are graduating more marketing, what do you call them, HR, procurement graduates, more than the hands-on, science and technology systems. Is that in any way, or do you have a system in influencing the kind of training through your data with academia?
Chairman, currently no such system exists with us, but there's a discussion ongoing, especially given the current nature of jobs across the globe and the way the world of work is changing, and how we also ought to look at, the workforce that are needed for particular skill sets and so on. This is a discussion that is ongoing. So my minister has plans to even have a national forum where he wishes to, one of these days, bring to our attention for all of us to be together and start thinking along the lines that you are proposing. So once I'm approved, I would discuss this with him. That is something we need to take it up and support him to roll it out. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Rekubrobe, we thank you for attending upon the committee to answer questions. You're discharged. You'll hear from us later.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you, honorable members. Thank you very much. I, Kofi Amankwa Menu,
swear by Almighty God
swear by Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Kindly put your mic off first. Good. Kofi Amankwa Menu, Honorable Member for Agyapong Angoma. This is the first time you are appearing before us at this committee.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Right. Very well. You were called to the bar only last week, is that right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, freshly mint.
Very well. Welcome to the club.
Thank you.
Very well. But before being elected to Parliament, where were you working?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Before being elected into Parliament, I was a presidential staffer. 2017, seconded to National Security. And then 2019, I was recalled to the Jubilee House, where myself and the current Deputy Chief of Staff were made to head a unit which was under the Chief of Staff. That is the Impact Assessment Unit, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, so tell us exactly what is you were doing as Impact Assessment Unit.
Mr. Chairman, this is a unit where we did a lot of field work. If there was a problem and the Chief of Staff needed to have an information, we had to go and then assess the situation on the ground and then brief the Chief of Staff.
So largely you were researching for the Office of Chief of Staff.
Precisely, Mr. Chairman.
What did you find about the impact of road construction in the Bekwai municipality, if any?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought you were going to ask about Agyapong. But
you're my next door at Agyapong.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And we shared a particular road. So we can talk about Agyapong as a link to Bekwai. But what did you find? What was the impact of the construction of that link between Semfi through your constituency to a link to Kumasi Road, right? Yes, what did you find about the impact of that one?
Mr. Chairman, obviously the traffic on that stretch of road, especially from the Ahinima Kokobeng side all the way through Trede and then to Semfi and through to Bekwai, that is a heavy traffic prone area. Really discussed with the Chief of Staff because definitely with the traffic, economic activities will be slowed and all that. So we had a lengthy discussion with the Chief of Staff and she gave the assurance that she's going to look into it.
Now, Ahinima Kokobeng is in your constituency.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Right. You know that the main reason for the heavy traffic holdup at Ahinima Kokobeng, largely two. The station that has been created at the exit and entrance of the Ahinima Kokobeng town and to the school. And then the speed humps where the dual carriages end. But I'm advised, I stand to be corrected, that the community insists that they will not agree for those speed humps to be removed. How do you think we can solve that problem to ensure free flow of access on the Kumasi, Obuasi, and Nyankwanta Road?
Mr. Chairman, that may not be wholly true. In fact, behind me is the Queen Mother of Ahinima Kokobeng.
And the people are really crying for their roads to be done. If you look at, really the holdup will not be due to that. If you look at the way Ahinema Kokobeng is, if we are to construct, the roads that are in the town, that can go a long way to ease traffic on the main road. I think you will agree with me that the construction of the road through Trede, all the way to is it Daban? Yes, Ahojo Daban. That is in a way trying to reduce the heavy traffic on the Bekwai Road. But it is not entirely true that the people of Ahinema Kokobeng do not want that side of the road to be done, or the ramps to be.
No, yeah, there are ramps. That's my only problem.
I think, Mr. Chairman, the ramps really came out because you know how sometimes when you have a bit of a good road, the way people speed, and people, children, adults were being knocked down by vehicles, and that was the reason why there was the ramp. But I don't think they are against the ramp being taken off to allow for free flow of traffic.
Yes, Lisa, we will discuss this outside here.
Chairman, thank you very much. I note that the nominee, Kofi Amankwa Menu, and Chairman, whilst I join you in congratulating him, let me refer him to page 7 of the CV. Page 7 of the CV. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Where was this training done? Was it in Washington, New York, Libya? Where in the world did you undertake this training? In August 2017 for our records.
Mr. Chairman, the training was done right here in Accra.
So state so that we know that I can match your slang in English to Accra training by the FBI. That the training was, after all, in the Dansuma area here somewhere in Accra.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I am taking after you.
And Chairman, I note again that you said you were seconded to National Security as Director Compliance. Compliance to what?
Mr. Chairman.
What was your responsibility?
Mr. Chairman, the job in national security is such that in most instances, you are assigned a particular duty. One big assignment which was assigned to me by my minister had to do with the cleaning of the petroleum sector. And when I say petroleum sector, I'm referring to those who are doing importation and exportation. We realized that a lot of people were, as it were, not paying taxes due to the state. And so one will come under the pretext of exporting petroleum product outside the country. And then the products will end up in Ghana. So they were actually not paying the taxes. And so my minister assigned me to that job, and it was a huge task. So mainly, that was what was assigned to me by my
Chairman,
minister.
that's noted. Page 5 of your CV. Were you member of parliament as at 4th January 2021? I see January 2021 to date. 4th January, were you member of parliament?
No, Mr. Chairman, 7th January 2021.
So say so for the record and for Chairman and for our purposes. Now, Chairman have answered that for you, but per our record as you've submitted, I didn't know that you have been called to the bar, because in page 3 of your CV, what you said was yet to be called to the bar. We should expunge that from the record. Is that right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And you've been studying law since 2015. Is that the case?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Why did you abandon your graduate course in social science at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology? You want to explain what accounted for that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. If Mr. Chairman will recall, in 1995, the universities were closed down for a very long time. And during the break, I had an opportunity to travel outside the country. I deferred my course for 1 year, but I ended up staying more than the deferred periods. So I missed my opportunity when I came back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you very much. So, Minister of Defense, we just discussed it. We know that you would not be the minister, you will be assisting the Honorable Dominic Nitiwil. And recruitment into the Ghana Armed Forces, we are concerned about transparency in the recruitment process. And it is my humble suggestion that we decentralize it to constituencies. And when you advertise, take 3-5 qualified persons from each constituency, subject them to your scrutiny and take a decision that will let you satisfy the minimum requirement of gender, religion, ethnic balance across the country. Do you share the view? Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chairman, this is an interesting suggestion. It's an interesting view you are putting out there. And if I find favor with this committee and subsequently approved by Parliament, I will suggest this to my minister and see how feasible it is to work with. Thank you.
Chairman, I see that the nominee is one of the referees is my favorite lecturer in thought, Maxwell Opoku-Agyeman. I still remember him fondly with his teaching on Donoghue versus Stevenson. The rule that love your neighbor like thyself become do not injure your neighbor. Is that your referee? Is that a Maxwell?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
So you just came out from law school. Do you still remember your law of contract?
Mr. Chairman, if you look at how long I spent from, definitely there are certain things I really cannot recall immediately. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I won't take you to movable or immovable property. And why? IQ is part of the examination. I just say contract. Contract, offer and acceptance. Do you remember that, Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, especially with carbolic acid.
Khalil versus carbolic snowball. Chairman is following you correctly. Okay. Now let's come to defense and interior. One is a relationship between men and women in uniform, the Ghana Armed Forces and members of the public. The other one is theft jealousy between Ghana Armed Forces and the police. You are going to the ministry to assist the minister. Sometimes we read of tensions, we read of conflict, we read of physical mutual abuses of the security agencies. And that is unbecoming of a security agency that must save life and property. What will you do with your minister to improve the military-civil relations? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a worrying thing for two entities fighting for the same cause to be engaged in such an act. I think it's not the best. And my minister is taking steps to really improve the civilian military relationship. If I am given the nod, definitely I will go support him and then possibly improve it and do it so that the civilian will have confidence in the military, and that relationship will also better a lot of Ghanaians. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Honorable Nilante van der Poy. So you talk to me, you don't make yielders without reference to me.
No,
very well, so I've withdrawn now. Agaga.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Building a very good relationship with civilians. Some of these things, of course, national security is a human entity, and so there are certain times certain personnel will go out and then do certain things which are untoward. What happened was not the best. I think my minister, the Minister for National Security, has dealt with the situation, and he's taking steps to make sure that a thing like that never occurs again. And so, Mr. Chairman, when given the nod, definitely I will also assist my minister to make sure that a thing like that, if we have an opportunity, we work together and it doesn't happen again.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Permit me to say I'm so happy for my junior boy to have gotten to this level. The nominee was one of my favorite young boys at Infant Swim School. When I was in upper six, he was in Form 1 and used to carry my food. So I'm happy that he's gotten to this level, and I wish him the best. Let me first go to the issue of manpower development in the men in uniform. If you go to other jurisdictions, you see that majority of our men in uniform have special qualifications. What will you do to ensure that in these times when our men in uniform are sometimes basically free, what will you do? What will be your advice to your minister so we can create opportunities for the men in uniform?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Men in uniform, just as you said in other jurisdictions, have certain qualifications and they have certain training. And then, like you rightly said, when you come to Ghana, some personnel are free. I think that one thing which is dear to my heart, and one thing I will also suggest to my minister, is to create the environment for personnel in uniform to be developed so that the country can benefit. If you have a security personnel developed, say in the health care area, what it means is that in times of need, in times of pandemic, just as we have now, these men can really play the frontline role. And because of their training, coming from a disciplined background and all that, we stand a chance to benefit. There is a program now going on at the ministry which has to do with the accelerated community road initiative. This is a very good initiative. So if we have men in uniform who can be trained to help us in constructing the many challenges facing the road sector, I think that we can do a very good job. 1984, if you all remember and we can cast our minds back, there was this Operation Roadstar, where engineers, personnel from the 48th Engineer Regiment were made to go to Afram Plains where contractors were reluctant to go, to help construct roads over there to open the Afram Plains area. If we can develop our men in uniform, I think they can help us with some of these things. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, my second question has to do with accommodation challenges facing the armed forces. What will you do to assist your minister to be able to improve upon the challenges of accommodation facing our security services, especially the armed forces?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Steps are being taken to address or to mitigate the accommodation problems facing the Ghana Armed Forces. We have the barracks regeneration project going on now, and the phase 1 in Accra has been done, completed, commissioned, and yet to be occupied by personnel. The one in Tamale is also being done. This is being done across board, but there is still room for improvement. The men need accommodation, and so when given the nod, definitely I'll work so hard with my minister to make sure that our men in uniform get deserving accommodation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, as a young man growing up, I used to admire the uniform of the...
But my worry, Joy FM carried out a particular expose on some of your men in uniform being compromised on the field in the fight against galamsey and their relationship with persons like foreign nationals who are involved in it and others who don't seem to know whether once you are seizing, you have seized some minerals, whether you see some gold bars, we don't know. give us an assurance that the military, they were known for discipline. We can't afford to accept some of the footages that I saw on Joy FM, and for somebody to tell me that there's a Ghanaian soldier in uniform taking part in that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As you rightly said, we have always known the military to be very disciplined, and I don't think the military high command will sanction such an act. If given the nod, I will work with my minister to make sure that what the military stands for, being disciplined, is maintained in the military. Thank you.
Now, Chairman, not for you as Deputy Minister, everywhere now, when we're growing up as children, you only saw soldiers when it was necessary. Now, everywhere they are holding guns in uniform, frightening everybody, walking after every public official. Is that their role? And what will you do about it? My soldiers guard public officials, ministers, deputy ministers, chief executive officer. You just see gun-wielding soldiers. Is that their role? What will you do to correct that? Thank you,
Mr. Chairman, the soldiers I know do not or should not wear guns in town threatening people. That, for me, is not the work of a soldier. And I know that soldiers, when they come out to perform a specific task, and then they have to go back to barracks. I don't think that is the duty of a soldier to be wielding gun in town. And so when given the nod, I will work with my minister to make sure that that is changed.
Chairman, my final so the Honorable Ayarga will do as I walk towards the chamber is constituency specific. I drive through Kamina Barracks every morning, and I drive through normally Bawa Barracks, and I should tell you that I appreciate the alertness of your men, the commander-in-chief's men at the gate. At every time when COVID happened, I deliberately will have one or two of my men accompany me off, and I'll be interested in who is on guard duties, whether he would measure temperature, whether he would tolerate, whether mask was on or not. I should appreciate the men and women at every time they were very alert. Now, Kamina Barracks used to have a dedicated hospital, just like what you have here in 37, which serves the environs. I believe that's the Honorable Suhini's constituency, from Zayure through my uncle's village, just opposite Bawa Barracks, through Dungu and my own village, Wemba coming there, all of them, Katarga, and then now used to have access to the military hospital, which served them well, and Kwane, that's the village I referred to. You want to assure us that when you get there, you take a look and support your minister for the re-establishment of the Kamina Hospital to serve soldiers and to serve the community around, particularly Kakasunanka. I'm sure that's a popular name that is known with in the area. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I will do exactly that. I will do exactly that, and I give you my full.
You won't tell us what you do. You tell us what I said. Chairman, is that the way to deal with it?
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Jare.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Following directly from soldiers in our space, I take you to Article 18 of the 1992 Constitution, which says, with your kind permission, I read, every person has the right to own property, emphasis mine, excavators, either alone or in association with others. And then I move to Article 19(1), which says, a person charged with a criminal offense shall be given a fair hearing within a reasonable time by a court. Look at that vis-a-vis the mining law, Act 703. I don't think any of these laws permit the burning of excavators, even if they are items of crime. What is your take on the burning of excavators in the fight against Galamsey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not too long ago, the President came out to say that any individual who is offended by the burning of excavators can proceed to the court. I may not be clothed with the authority to really say the burning of excavators is lawful or unlawful. And so I think that the President's invitation for those who feel offended to go to court is something we must all welcome, because that is one way we can also see our laws grow and one way we can strengthen the laws of Ghana. So I think that the body clothed with that authority are in place. And so when people go to the court, I think we will bring finality to this banning of excavators. Thank you.
As a lawyer, I'm so sure you know it's illegal, but I'll leave it there. According to an article published by Reuters news agency on 21st of January 2021,
depreciation in value in terms of what they are due to receive from the state or the United Nations. So men who go out there to keep the peace of the world, what have you got to say to that? And what assurance would you have for them?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Per the briefing given to me, this is something my minister is working on seriously. And my understanding is that this personnel on operation duties are even paid in their, call it the theaters. So they are paid over there. But if there is anything that has to do with delay in payment of what is due them, given the note, I will work with my minister to make sure that the writing is done. Thank you.
Minister, let's look at article, you have your constitution with you. Let's go to chapter 17, which deals with the armed forces of Ghana, Air Force, Army, the Navy. And let's look at Article 210, Clause 3. The armed forces shall be equipped and maintained to perform their role of defense of Ghana, as well as such other functions for the development of Ghana as the President may determine. Parliament last year approved 80 million, the sum of 80 million United States dollars for some equipment, $22 million for some binoculars, night goggles. We've talked about the $100 million for the housing project, barracks regeneration project. Do you think, going through your briefing, and I know for a fact that the Navy has some challenges, I know the Army too does, whether we are doing very well in conformity or in compliance with the provisions of Article 2103. Thank you. Chairman, that's my last question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I think a lot has been done in trying to procure for the Ghana Armed Forces the needed equipment to enable them give of their best for the protection of this nation. But yes, a lot has been done, but like Oliver Twist, we need more and more has to be done. Thank you.
Okay, now leader. Very well, Honorable.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Nominee, congratulations. The Honorable Nominee doesn't seem to trust me at all. I don't know why. But I think a question earlier about internal security and the fact that of late we have had discussions around how the military is misused, or men of the Ghana Armed Forces are misused when it comes to their deployment. Gives me reason to ask you the question I'm about to ask you. Otherwise, I had no question for you. Recently, I don't know if it is out of excitement of your nomination, you had a meeting in your constituency where they complained about some armed robbery cases. Sunday, 9th May 2021, to be precise, was the day that you had the meeting with some of your constituents when they complained about armed robbery cases in their areas and how people were robbing them of valuable properties. You assured them of the provision of security, and you said, quote, if you know any person involved in robbery, better advise him or her. It is never too late for them to back out. But if they insist and persist in that activity, we will also meet them with brute force, because this thing will never succeed in Echuma Kwauma. Not when I am Deputy Minister for Defense, quote and unquote. Not when I am Deputy Minister for Defense. It got me wondering if you will be contributing to the misuse of the men and women of the Ghana Armed Forces when it comes to ensuring internal security, if you are approved by this committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, but I think that that is not exactly what actually took place. I never said that I was going to use the military to do anything like that, because I'm not even clothed with that authority to do that. It was purely misreporting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chairman, and congratulations for your nomination to the Ministry of Defense as a Deputy Minister. I'm sure it is informed by your work at the National Security Ministry. Let me just continue from where Honorable Suhini left, which has to do with the misuse of military personnel. You see very often that soldiers wielding weapons, automatic rifles, are used frequently as land guards, actually, or even to provide protection to people developing property. I immediately am aware of a site just behind Trasalco, and I think you should take this up when you leave here, because I believe you still work at the National Security, pending your approval as a defense minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're shaking your head, so I want to know if you are not.
No, I am currently the Member of Parliament for Agyapong.
Okay.
That is who I am, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So you don't have capacity to take any action on this. But behind Trasalco, I think there's a disputed land. I'm told that they got a Supreme Court judgment, and yet one of the parties has managed to deploy military, I'm told, and you can investigate this, to prevent the enforcement of the Supreme Court judgment. This is a typical case of how soldiers are being used either by national security or by the Ministry of Defense itself in theaters that are really not the province of military personnel. What assurance do we have that you will stop, prevent, and discourage this increasing tendency to involve our military in purely civil litigation matters?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I know that this is one area my Minister or the Minister for Defense is working seriously at. In fact, when he appeared before this August committee, he intimated to the committee that before he assumed office, there were certain areas military officers were made to go and provide protection. He withdrew all of them except, I think, 2. And so it is one area, if given the nod, I will assist my minister to make sure that we clean the system of these activities. Thank you.
The other issue that I have been raising in this House that I will raise also before you during this your vetting is the issue of recruitment into the security agencies. What can you do to enhance transparency, fairness, equity, inclusiveness, and the absence of bias and political favoritism in recruitment into the military and security agencies that, just the military, because you are going to the defense ministry, so just the military.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The Honorable Minority Leader brought a suggestion which I find very interesting, and I gave him my fullest assurance that when given the nod, I will mention this to my minister and see how best we can implement such a thing if it is feasible. I think that will bring a lot of transparency, that will bring inclusiveness, and that will make the Ghanaian also feel part of the process. And so, yes, I think it's a very laudable idea, and so I'll mention that to my minister when given the nod. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very well, Honorable Member, you are my neighbor. So whatever is going to Agyapong, I must help you to get there. So I'll ask you any more questions, but we'll discuss how to build a road that is linking the 2 constituencies so we can have free interaction, okay? So thank you for attending upon the committee to answer questions. You're discharged for now. You hear from us.
Thank you very much.
And Kufu is in Bekwai constituency, so no problem.
Thank you very much. And I also give you my fullest assurance that Agyapong shall work with Bekwai to make sure that the 2 of us all benefit. Thank you very much.
Yes, kindly administer the oath.
I, Mavis and Contractor,
Swear by Almighty God
swear by Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue
shall be the truth,
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
So help me God.
Honorable Mavis and Kansan Boedu, this is the first time you're appearing before this committee.
Yes, please, Chairman.
Well, we'll allow you to tell us a little about yourself since we don't have any record of you here.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Mavis Nkansa Boedu. I was born in Accra on the 17th day of May, 1989, to Mr. and Mrs. Nkansa Boedu. I started my early education in Accra, and my highest level of education is at the master's level. I worked in Kensado's Company Limited, doing my national service. And my last employment before becoming a member of parliament was as an international student ambassador at Keller Graduate School of Management. I'm currently married with 2 kids, and I'm a 2-term member of parliament for the good people of Efija Setre East in the Ashanti region. And during my spare time, I like to dance, exercise, and sometimes read motivational books. Thank you.
What's the capital of your district?
Agona.
Okay. Right, Agona. Sometimes I get confused at which part is Setre East and which part is Setre West. Right, okay. You were in the last parliament, a member of the Pan-African Parliament, is that right?
Yes, please.
Now, you're nominated as the Deputy Minister for Roads.
Chairman, yes, that's
It
the
is
case.
believed that for every one of us here, members of parliament, the biggest challenge every one of us, including the majority leader, your referee, the biggest challenge we face are road infrastructure in our various constituencies. How do you think you can assist us, assist members, including your referee, the majority leader? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I think my minister was confronted with the same question when he attended on the committee. And he mentioned that if he was given the nod, he will ensure that majority of the challenges that we face in the road sector is addressed, which is the roads in our constituency and in Ghana at large. So then if I'm given the nod, I'll assist him and support him in any way possible to ensure that same is achieved. And from time to time, I remind him of the commitments he made to this committee. Thank you.
The majority leader is just advising me that of the 48 questions admitted by Mr. Speaker as of today, 27 out of them are on roads. That should tell you that practically every week you may be requested to come to the floor to answer questions. Yes, today 11 questions listed, Friday another set. How prepared are you to assist your minister in providing answers, not just answers, solutions to the questions that members have to ask on the road sector?
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm very much prepared to assist my minister. As I said earlier on, I think that in the road sector, we are faced with a lot of challenges. And as it stands right now, the state of our roads, I can give you a breakdown. We have about 78,000, a little over 78,000 kilometers of roads, and about 41% of them are in a good state About 33% are in the first state, and about 26% are in the post state. That goes to say that we have a lot of challenges. And as I earlier stated, my minister said he's going to address some of these issues, and I know that it's very important to the president as well. That is why last year was declared as the year of roads, and this year has also been declared as the year of roads. So then, with that being said, I will support him to ensure, if given the nod by this honorable committee and house, to ensure that same is achieved. Thank you.
Honourable members, here's your nominee. Yes, Honourable Obama.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Congratulations, Honourable. Honourable member, you are going to a sector which is largely male-dominated, with engineers, surveyors, and what have you, contractors, and committee members who've served on the committee for 16 years, like the chairman of the committee. He's been on the roads committee for many years, and most of them are bullies. They'll come to you pushing you around. How are you going to survive these characters? Tough ones.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, as you said, the road ministry is male-dominated. But I think I am also ready to work with the ministry, and my preparedness would assist me in ensuring that I deliver. And I also rely on them when the need be to actually learn, and I'm also ready to learn from them. So then I don't think I'm going to allow anyone to push me around, but I'm also ready to learn from them, and I'll rely on them when it's necessary. Thank you.
Chairman, my last question. The people of Okankwe Central, Abekan La Paz, wants a clear assurance from you, very clear, that the roads around La Paz, police post, Cram School, Nyamiche, you give it a topmost priority. And the fact that that area and where you used to live was part of the constituency, Okankwe North, till it became Okankwe Central. So you're a part of us, and they expect you to do something very special for them. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you, Honorable.
They want to hear from you. No, they want to hear from you, please.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'll bring it up with my minister, and I'll ensure that we work on it. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Zera.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon and congratulations, Honorable Nominee. And please, taking off from where Honorable Yabuama said, don't allow them to bully you. We are not bullyable. Just let them know. Now, going to my substantive question. You did allude to the year of roots, and the year before was the year of roots. And I want you to educate this committee. Our roads built within a one-year cycle. And this year, again, has been declared a year of roads. We are already in the second quarter of the year. We haven't seen any action on roads. What should we expect in the next 6 months? I relate this to the road from Tamale to my constituency of Salaga. It was awarded in 2016, that's 5 years ago, and the road is still under construction. What assurances can you give us that an otherwise travel time of 1 hour between Salaga and Tamale has now become 2.5 hours to the minimum? Sometimes it goes later than that, longer than that. What assurances can you give us that the Salaga-Tamale road will be part of this year's year of roads, and so we should see a completion of that road by December this year? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. So then the question you asked earlier on was the cycle within roads are constructed. My briefing from the ministry indicates that it's usually between 18 months cycle. So a year most likely cannot be completed within 1 year. And with the question, your second question in terms of the road in your constituency, I believe that the same question was asked to my minister, and he confirmed that if given the nod, he will ensure that the road is constructed, because I believe that the road has been awarded to a contractor. So then, if given the nod, I would remind him to the commitment that he made to you and ensure that same is achieved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My second and final question has to do with street lighting of some of our cities. Street lighting is very poor, and most of the time we are driving in the dark, and it comes with its own security issues. Why are we in this situation, and what would your ministry be doing to ensure that our urban centers are properly lighted, and hopefully the rural centers will also be lighted? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. So then, majority of the time, I believe that we usually assume that the street lighting falls under the Ministry of Roads and Highways. And my briefing from the ministry indicates that when major rehabilitation works are being done, the street lighting is captured under the designing. But the lightening of our street falls under the domain of the Energy Ministry and the MMDAs. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Sus.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Congratulations once more, Honorable Nominee. My question has to do with funding for road infrastructure. And I'm asking this question against the background that recently when we went on recess, I took the time to inspect almost all road projects undertaken by the Ministry of Highways within my constituency. I realized that we had 7 different projects that have been awarded. And even though
the minister has given the assurance that during the vetting, I believe that he was asked about payment of contractors. And I believe it's rather unfortunate that as a nation, we have to go through that, because I always say that the backbone of every economy is the private sector, a vibrant private sector. With that being said, I know that briefing from also the ministry indicates that in 2017, IPCs raised as far back as 2012 were being paid in 2017. So then, as a ministry, we face a lot of challenges in that regard. My minister gave the assurance that we'll try and clear the backlog of arrears that are there, and we'll also limit the commitment that government give moving forward. So then, I will support him in that regard. Thank you.
Well, because you are going to that ministry, particularly the roads from the Damfa roads have been very, very critical. And I recall that when your minister was here, there was a proposal that for purposes of constructing some of these town roads, there could be a special purpose project that allows for towing of some particular roads, so that you will use it as a source of raising money to fix those roads. As it stands now, the road tolls that are paid sometimes do not reflect on the kind of quality of roads that we have. Your minister said he was going to consider putting together a working committee. Are you aware whether any such committee has already been put in place? And when approved, what would you do to support this committee to make sure that we can get funding for this rural, I said rural, but these urban roads?
Thank you, Chairperson. I haven't been given the approval yet, and I'm not aware of such committee. So when I'm given the nod, I'll follow up on it. Thank you.
Yes, leadership, Deputy Leader. Oh, okay. You haven't asked a question today. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Mavis, congratulations. The gentleman said it's a male-dominated area, but do not fear. We have worked in male-dominated areas for all our working life. Just stand firm. Your minister said in a briefing one Sunday afternoon that he's going to do 20 interchanges. Was that was that the reality, or he was just, trying to? It was part of the sloganeering, or what?
Thank you, Chairperson. Actually, during the press briefing, he mentioned 25 of them, but he said 20 of them can be completed within the next 4 years, which is 2024. And my briefing from the ministry indicates that majority of them, out of the 25, except for the 5 in Kumasi and 1 in Takrade, the PAR grants, contracts have been signed, award given out, and the funding has been raised. So then it's very much possible for us to be achieved. So let's wait to 2024, and maybe we can talk about it again. But as far as I know, it is very possible for them to be completed within the 4-year cycle. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm saying this also in context relating to roads that have been awarded already. And I use my constituency as an example because it is not right that a road that should be awarded in 2015 should still be at the stage at which it is. And I think there has to come to a point when there has to be in the contract that if roads are not being done, every 2 years, the contractor should reshape it for the benefit of the community. That has to be included in the contract documents, because the people cannot be suffering for 5 years for one reason or the other that funds are not committed to complete that road. And sometimes when you want to take it from that contractor and re-award that section, it can be another problem, because maybe the contractor has not been paid, and to be fair, he has not been paid. So I will appeal that you direct these questions to your minister, and that I hope that in 2024, by the time you finish your 20 interchanges, my Swedru to Bojuasi Road would be completed, because it cannot run through 3 terms and complete. That said, in the United States, a lot of their roads, yes, you see, as we drive around, you see that their roads are in fairly good condition. It's because they use a lot of public-private partnerships. And so you find a lot of them are tolled. And so the revenue that is derived from that is obviously used to pay for. And it's used to pay for the construction and also used to pay for the maintenance of it. So it may be given out on concession, a particular section may be given out on concession, and then revenues arriving from that, accruing from that, are used for the construction itself and the maintenance. GOG is breaking its back to pay for roads and relying on grants and loans and so on and so forth. Can't there come a time when just look at other models of what other established economies have done and find ways and means of, yes, following such examples, just to be able to get an infrastructure right on track. You gave an example of 41% that are in good condition. At some point, we have to jump to 60% because we cannot be crawling with all the time. There's such a just minimal incremental increase in the percentage of good roads, and it cannot continue this way. So is it possible for us to think beyond our conventional thinking of road financing and get some things done in a different way? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. So then you mentioned PPP. Actually was captured in our manifesto, the NPP manifesto, and it's something that the ministry is considering. As far as I know, one PPP arrangement is in the works, the Temateria roads. So then your suggestion has been well noted, and I'll bring it to attention of the minister as well. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair, my last question. I think that periodically safety audits have to be done on roads, especially highways. My constituency, the district capital is called Awutu. About a week ago, a young boy was crossing the road to go to school with his brother and got knocked down by a tipper truck and instantly died. Consistently, either a motorbike is knocking somebody is getting knocked down by a car, and it is rampant and it is increasing. Can the ministry decide, and I don't believe that they do not hear what goes on unless it's reported to them. There should be a mechanism of safety audits or so on and so forth, in liaising with the district assemblies that are along such highways, to give them whether weekly reports or whatever, and there must be some measures. Straight away, zebra crossings. The next thing, it should be ramps. On the Cape Coast Road, as you did your your visits, you saw the ramps were quite high, concrete road. It may slow down traffic, but if that's what it costs to keep people safe, then perhaps that must be done on places like that. Now, coming from Akoti Junction, you know that on Saturdays and Sundays, the traffic is heavy. But what are our options? I want you to think about that, and please discuss with your minister that certain areas, drastic actions have to be taken because the carnage on the roads is a lot. Thank you.
Well noted. Thank you.
I wish you all the best.
Yes, Honorable, he was going to do the leadership one, then you came to take his stage.
Congratulations, Mavis, on your nomination. Honorable Mavis, I've looked at your CV. Road construction, road sector, major infrastructure issue involving engineering on one hand and financing on the other. From your CV, which aspect of your training will you draw on to be able to make a contribution to the sector?
Thank you, Honorable. So then, yes, you mentioned my educational background. I have a master's in international business, and I believe that the integral part of every organization borders on its management and best practices. So then I'll fall on that to actually assist in the ministry. Thank you.
The major problem we have in the sector really has to do with financing. What, in your opinion, will be the innovation that you can bring to the critical question of financing of our infrastructure?
Thank you, Chairperson. Earlier on, the Honourable Member asked, and I informed her that the Ministry is considering PPP arrangement in funding some of our roads. Thank you.
PPP is something we all know about. Any other innovation that you can think about?
If I'm given the nod to the Ministry, I'll confer with others, and as I said, we usually, with a background in international business, we usually fall back on best practices around the world. So now I'll take the opportunity to do my research, and hopefully I'll come up with something that I can recommend to the Minister. Thank you.
Well, Deputy Leader.
Yes, Honorable Mavis and Councillor Boedo. First, let me congratulate you. From your CV, you said you had 2 kids, which we all know, and you were able to combine family commitment and your politics. So I'm sure you can't be bullied at the ministry at all, because you have the energy and the strength to manage stress and pressure. Now, have you checked since your nomination whether you are the first ever to get to that ministry since the Fourth Republic?
The
first female.
Yes, my checks indicate so.
Appointee.
Yes, my checks indicate so, Honorable. Yes, please. I am the first female to be in that ministry, to go to that ministry, if given the nod by this Honorable House.
And so if you do well, you are likely to be promoted to be the first female roads and highway minister. It's possible. It's possible, isn't it?
Honorable, it's not up to me to decide. Thank you.
Now, your dad is a businessman. And are you able to tell us the nature of his business?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Yes, my dad is a businessman, and he's into different businesses.
Does it include road construction?
Yes, please.
Are you a director of any of his firms?
No, please.
Do you have shares in his road construction firm?
No, please.
Though, now, members have looked at the law regarding interest, and though you don't have an interest in his company, would you take it up to disclose that your dad is a businessman and a road contractor who works at the ministry? Would you consider making that public?
Yes, Honorable Chairperson. Yes.
Now, since your dad is a road contractor, I presume you know about the stress he goes through when he's not paid after taking money from the bank or using his own capital to construct roads. You've seen him in that stressful moment, right?
Yes, Honorable, I have.
You are also aware that total indebtedness, per what your minister said, is in excess of 16 billion.
Not that I'm aware of. I believe he mentioned 6 billion Ghana cedis. Yes, please.
Stand there. Let me take your word for it. Without interest, 6 billion. Right. And then you are also aware that there's commitment of 36 billion.
Yes, please.
You are aware of that. This is huge. Meanwhile, every MP has pressure on him to construct or lobby for road construction, correct?
Yes, Chairperson, Honorable Chairman.
The road fund in its current state is unable to support our commitment because not much is derived from that road fund. You agree with me on that?
Yes, Honorable Chairman.
Therefore, relative to Honorable Ayaraga's question on the innovative ways, would you agree with me that an increase in the road fund would help the situation we find ourselves? Yes, the road toll, I mean, whatever goes into the road fund, an increase in whatever gets into the road fund is very critical.
Thank you, Chairman. So then there are various components that make up the road fund. We have the tolls, we have the petroleum levies, we have the new vehicle registration, road users, also we have the international transit levies that are also taken. And in regards to that, the road tolls, I believe we charge one of the lowest road tolls around the world. And when my minister appeared before the committee, the same question was asked in regards to increasing the road tolls. And he answered in the affirmative. And I support his position. Thank you.
So specifically, let's spend a little time on this road fund. And relax and pay attention to, this is a Commonwealth question. Now, if we need to have resources to pay our road contractors, you agree with me that we need to have the road fund, the funds in there should be sufficient?
Definitely, Honorable
Yes.
Chairman.
So if it is so, we need to back it. Those funds must be backed with some bonds. Would you suggest that to your minister so that we can have enough to be paying our contractors and to be able to do more roads?
Thank you, Chairman. I'll do exactly that. Thank you.
Chair. I think I would simply end there, because once she's able to assure us of her support in these two major areas, I believe that the general concern of all of us regarding our roads can best be addressed, because without the road fund, we getting more funds into it, without getting a road bond dedicated to paying contractors and motivating Ghanaian contractors in staying in that field, our roads will remain bad. And I believe that the ministry, led by your minister and you assisting, would get into the education, get to educate the people to understand why we need to raise funds to deliver. Would you want to assure us of that public education being undertaken by your ministry?
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Yes, I give you the assurance. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Leader. No, we have crossed your
Congratulations.
line. Neil and we have crossed your line. We have come to leadership. I'm sorry.
I'm
Honorable Leader,
Honorable,
please.
Just one question, sir. Leader.
Let's not do this.
Yeah.
Honorable Leader.
Only one. Chairman, I beg you. Mr. Chairman, I want to ask the nominee. Today we've seen a report that 1,250 Ghanaians lost their lives through road accidents within 5 months. Within 5 months, we've lost 1,250. What innovative ideas will you want to proffer to your minister in order for us to reduce road accidents in the country?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Before I go to the ideas that I'll give to my minister, I want to mention that the President has set up an interministerial committee which is looking into that, which is made up of my ministry, given the note, the Ministry of Roads and Highways, the Ministry of Interior, and also the Transport Ministry. And hopefully they'll come out with their recommendations soon. But one thing that we do realize when it comes to these accidents, the carnage on our roads, is the fact that it happens mostly on the trunk roads. And I think what I would recommend to my minister, and I believe is already in the works, is dualizing majority of our trunk roads. And I believe that most of these accidents should be a thing of the past. And also with the passenger fatalities, which happens on the roads within our cities, I recommend that we provide some footbridges and also sensitize our people to use them. Thank you.
Chairman, I should join you in congratulating Mavis and Councillor Buedu for her nomination to the office of Deputy Minister for Roads. She would be assisting the Honorable Amoakwata, a colleague of mine at law school. I do know her father well, so I trust that if the father's values are in her, she should provide some leadership at the ministry. But Chairman, with your indulgence, just Mavis, your CV, the second page, when you say University College of Management Studies, is that the former IMS? Or what are you referring to? University College of Management Studies, is that what used to be referred to as the IMS?
It's located in Kumasi.
And what is its name?
University College of Management Studies, please.
And this was August 2012. From what period to what period did you undertake that education, the degree in HR management?
So that it was from 2007, 2008, 2012, sorry. 2008 to 2012.
2007, 2008 to 2012.
Sorry, 2008 to 2012.
All right, I've taken note of that. Then just beneath it, you have relevant coursework, and you have leadership skills, mastering negotiation, legal, political, ethical dimensions of business. What is used there in your CV? What are you communicating? Is that what you did at the University of Ghana Basic School, or that's what you did at University College of Management Studies? What purpose is that paragraph 7 in your CV? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. These were all the courses that I undertook doing my bachelor's and also my master's.
But I'm saying its relationship. When I read there, do I take it to your master's? Do I take it to your first degree? Where does it belong?
It's a combination of both, so then maybe I have to do the differentiation. And
all right, that's appreciated. I know Chairman would have elucidated that from you. You didn't indicate to us, I don't find it in your CV, but I appreciate that I was not in when you started. For instance, 7th Parliament, these were the committees you served on. Then we now have the 8th Parliament. These are the committees you've served on. You have that anywhere in your CV you want to show to me? Thank you, Chair.
No, Honorable Chair, sorry, I didn't get that question.
Committees of Parliament serve 7th Parliament, 8th Parliament. Where in your CV have you indicated that?
It's not in it, and
how come?
I'll work on it.
How come? Because you are profiling yourself for us, and that is what we should use to appreciate you in terms of the work that you are doing as member of Parliament. So that's noted. I don't find that anywhere in your CV. I see that you serve on the Permanent Committee of Trade and Energy at the Pan-African Parliament. And then now roads. Mine is just quality of roads. You see the contractors, they were on that road after 8 months to 1 year. We see potholes on the road again. They do first bitumen, or what do they call it? There is no second, then the roads deteriorate and the state loses. You have any advice what you want to do to share with your minister to improve that, the quality of our roads?
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I believe that majority of these challenges that we are facing with the contractors not returning to work or finishing these works on time borders on funding. And as I earlier mentioned, the minister gave his assurance or has reiterated over time his commitment to ensuring that our contractors are paid on time. And that is going to be achieved by clearing the backlog of arrears that we have there and also limiting the commitments that we give as a nation in terms of the road construction. So then if I'm given the nod, our system to ensure that his commitment is achieved.
Chairman, the other one is for her to take note. It's not a question, it's consensus specific, but I'm worried. I've written to the Ghana Highway Authority more than 2 years. Even courtesy to acknowledge my letter, no, 0. Courtesy to do what I'm asking for, 0. Yet it borders on lives. On the Yendi Road, I share boundary with the MP for Myang and Yendi. From Wamale through Balai, through Pagaza to Toyapala, all they've asked for, and I know the Honorable Tampuli drives on that road every time, is speed ramps. It's taken me 2 years, no response. Last week I was in the constituency in Jericho Lago at the weekend just to visit. A young girl was almost knocked down at Lago because the speed ramp I'm asking for. So look at my weight. So ordinary people, how can they be assured that when an ordinary community asks for an intervention for use of state resources to save lives, would you give me an assurance that that will be fixed? You assist the minister to get it done?
Yes, Honorable.
And if highway authorities are not responsive to members of parliament, you hold them responsible to it?
Yes, Honorable.
No, this is not engineering leader. In fact, I'm going to buy a rope myself and put on the road to save lives. That's what I decided with the community last week. I'll buy a rope and just put it on the street. At Toyapala is bad for them. So I'm now on the Salga Road going to Zueres constituency, just speed ramps. So it takes longer to do that. Chairman, this deputy minister, I cannot visit the sins of the president and the minister on her road fund. It's taking President Nana Danko half a year, not constituted. I'm wondering what he's doing because contractors are paid monthly. They need to be paid monthly. Give me an official document that has been done. I'm disappointed that it's not been done. And Chairman, I can only wish Mavis well. But when she goes, she must be accessible to contractors. And don't go and be dividing NDC contractors, MPP contractors. Serve the people of Ghana and serve the entrepreneurs of Ghana and serve the contractors of Ghana. I could say more. Today they are suffering about interest on loans. Yes, it's to save you because, so I mean, you know, I'm helping you. Or you are helping me. Chairman, so interest payment by contractors, and this one, Chairman, is not question, but commentary, because the debt, you know, road contractors, they are dying slowly, quietly. The BP rate is very high for them. Today, cement is selling very high, iron rod very high, not the cost when they were awarded those contracts. Then it takes 4 or 5 months, no road fund, no payments. How do you expect them to survive? But on that note, I wish you well. And as I've said, we'll monitor you. Don't go and also assume that attitude. I see that your minister have come because he knows I respect him. I'll keep quiet. Chairman, I end it there. But when you go, minister, I'm telling her that my road, speed ramps have not been done. Lago, Jericho, Dunyang, Wamale, Toyapala Road to highways, no response. I don't want to report them to you. But Chairman, so Mavis, go and help Minister Amakwata. But even when you help him and the president doesn't help you putting up the road fund board, you will be helpless. I thank you, Chairman.
Honorable Mavis in Kansabudu. I have only one more question relating to your CV. You have listed a number of referees. Number 1 is the majority leader. Number 2 is Samantha Sikon. I don't know whether I pronounced it correctly. Number 3 is Nana Owusu Nkwantabisa. But that's where I have a problem. Director, Library and Learning, Commons. Director, Library and Academic Success Center. Where are they? Are they the Commons? Are you talking about the House of Commons? That's the only Commons I know. Is there a community like that? The Success Center, where is it?
That is an error. Sorry about that, and it will be corrected.
Tell us the correct one before you do the correction. So
then it's Director, Library and Academic Success Center.
Where?
In the United States of America.
Which state, which county, what do you call them?
Okay, he's in Chicago.
All right.
Yes, please.
Director, Library and Academic Success Center, Chicago.
Yes, please. DeVry University. Thank you.
All right. Very well. We thank you for attending upon the committee to answer questions. You'll hear from us later, but for now, you're discharged.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm very grateful.
Come here. Honorable Minister, I want to see you.
This is Asin Kushia, the capital of Asin Orenchi traditional area in the central region. The distance from Asin Fosu, the municipal capital, to Kushia is 24 kilometers, and farming is the mainstay of the people in the area. The location of Kushia is through Asin Fosu to a community called Asempaneye, and then takes a left turn, which is about 12 kilometers to the town. In between Asempaneye and Kushia, there is a town called Achiano. The road network from Asempaneye to Kushia, one may think it is lying in one of the regional capitals and not in a small community in the central region. At the entrance of the town, there is a huge signpost, and on entering the town, one will see waste containers in different colors, indicating how Kushia has been armed against filth and AIDS-related diseases. The development has made many to conclude that Kushia has the potential of being ranked among the first 5 cleanest towns in Ghana. Trees have been planted along the streets, and green grass is everywhere to beautify the town. In the middle of the town is a
traveling restrictions had to stall all those travels. As we sit here, we don't even know when some of the places will be open back for journalists. I earlier on said that it was not just for journalists, but then businesses were also affected. But I'm telling you that there were a lot of journalists that were also supposed to travel outside for training programs. It affected them. Media houses were supposed to travel and bring equipment to the country. As we sit here, apart from maybe coming by, some of the restrictions have been relaxed, but you ask yourself the cost involved. So at the end of the day, I think that there were a lot of factors, but those that I just mentioned are the immediate ones that come to mind when you talk of challenges affecting media, the media during the pandemic.
Okay, so economically, definitely, it has affected the media so much, and of course, that also extends into journalists and their working conditions. That was also another important issue that was discussed at the conference. Let's look at the conditions of service for journalists and, of course, remuneration. Some media houses have mega pay for journalists. Some are not paid at all, and some, if they have to be paid, 1 month salary will have to eat into the other month. Some would tell you that for like close to 4-5 months, they've never received a salary. All these things affect the work of the media. Let's discuss this. Take it, Chair.
Yeah, you know, yes, there are issues when it comes to the working conditions of...
As in relation to media freedom.
Media freedom, yes. And it has a bearing on it. Most, apart from those of you who are in the state-owned media houses, who are unionized, and so you can talk and bargain when it comes to your remunerations and stuff. Those in the private media are not unionized. They are not even allowed to join unions. You dare join a union in somebody's media house, they'll sack you. I mean, these are not stories, but these are facts. Things happen, you know. And even that is even complicated by the media's financial and logistical constraints. You understand? Because you even have many private media houses which are one-man owned, you know, so they don't even have enough money to bring on more people. They don't. So very few people in that establishment are, let's say, well paid. When you come to people who host shows, you look at them, their outlook, not outlook, but the way they live It's a bit different from those in the newsroom. You understand? So the model, the business model that we have when it comes to private media houses affects the capacity of people, because if you are not well paid, wherein lies the motivation? You understand? So it has made, even though we all know people take solid, it has made us all to look the other way while people take solid. And some have even graduated from being solid masters to near extortionists. If you don't give me something, my ink will not flow. These are things we heard long ago in the 80s.
My pen will talk.
My pen will talk. You understand? All aimed at trying to get something apart from the pay. There are journalists who do other things apart from just reporting the news and stuff. Because the kind of money they get at the end of the month is not enough. You understand? So these are things that affect performance. You understand? There are private media houses where you'll be told, look, you can decide to report for us, but we don't have money to pay you.
Yeah.
You understand? So it means you are on your own. So in this case, if I get a story and I want to air the story, and the person comes around and says, take this and sit on that story, what do you think I'll do? I mean, all of us here, it will be a battle for you.
Sure.
You won't sleep at night. Because if we get to a time where the GJA, for example, decides to unionize, so that I think so, we are in a new dispensation.
Practically, but there are media houses that pay well.
Well,
right?
They
there are media houses that pay well.
No,
but still, they are journalists to collect solely. Right?
They're paying, look, now we are on Momo. Even the Momo Soli is being faster and better than the tabletop. You know?
So it's a normal thing.
Yes, I mean, the Momo Soli is faster and better than that one. Nobody knows how much you got. Only you and the Momo person. You understand? But as I was saying, it is not a hopeless situation. When you look at the role the media plays in any democratic dispensation, you realize that things would have to eventually pan out, level out, for us to be able to do what we have to do. And this would come from both the practitioners, that's the media, and the authorities.
It's good you actually mentioned the GJA, because Roland Afomoni, the GJA president, was actually there at the conference, and he also made mention of course, resources that journalists need to make their work. And the way he sounded, it's as if the situation, the way he painted the situation, as if it's an awful situation that actually needs urgent tackling. Are we just looking at financial constraints as the only challenge?
Indeed, I say yes. If you say the way he painted the situation made it look awful, I'm tempted to agree with him. We are indeed in an awful situation. And the problem, I'm just holding with me the 1992 Constitution, the chapter that guarantees all the media freedoms. And if you read the Article 162, the clause 3, it says there shall be no impediment to the establishment of private press or media. And in particular, there shall be no law requiring any person to obtain a license as a prerequisite to establishment or operation of a newspaper, journal, or other media for mass communication or information. And I ask myself, the framers of the 1992 Constitution, did they do the framing on issues of the media with the mindset that the media could be used as a business, a tool, commercial tool, or they saw the media as a social service.
Yeah.
And so you realize that the problem in the media, especially with the advent of the freeing of the airwaves, we have a lot of people going into the media space without the financial wherewithal. So I know I have some connections I can exploit to get a frequency. I get the frequency, and the law says there shall be no impediment. And so I don't care a hoot who sits behind a microphone to broadcast. I don't care a hoot about the qualification of the one I am putting the pen in the hands to begin writing. You understand? So there is a generic problem. It's like the media space is now like a free-for-all. Free-for-all thing. Tel spoke about this. Only I have my own.
No, come on with it.
I have my own issues with.
Come on with it. And I love the bit about the Momo thing. I mean, I think it's more sophisticated. I love that one.
Sometimes I find it difficult that he spoke about the 80s. Till date, we have not been able to draw a clear distinction between what is called inducement and what is called gratification. I have my own, but
that is another topic for another
topic for another day.
I tell you.
So, but there are the challenges. You are talking about unionization. No amount of unionization is going to resolve that problem, because don't forget, to join a union itself, it's not be no impediments.
Yeah.
There shall be no impediments whatsoever. So it's a free-for-all thing. And don't forget, yes, we have the business ownership, we have the state ownership, and we have the political ownership.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For the businessman, some level of professionalism will entail that certain volume of business comes in there. So even though you may not put any impediment, that is a business he has established. He will try as much, or he or she will try as much as possible to meet certain tenets within the commercialization.
Okay.
But those who establish media outlets as political tools do not care. But because at the end of the day, it is to achieve a certain political objective. You understand? And I say, if you have done the history of media development in Ghana, you realize that we have not departed from how it started. And that is why the framers failed to avert their minds to point that media had become a huge commercial activity, for which reason it shouldn't have been a free-for-all, opening the floodgate for everybody to be able to move in there.
Opening the floodgates in abundance.
You understand? Because the people who started as journalists in our part of the world, most of them were highly placed individuals. So whether it was those who started the Gold Coast Gazette or whatever,
some of them were lawyers, some of them were
lawyers,
lecturers.
You understand?